now in Newburyport, which was all the candidates for everything. And Congressman Tierney spoke first, and he spoke at some length. And the original understanding was that the gubernatorial candidates would speak first, but the chairman chose otherwise, and so the gubernatorial candidates did not speak first, and I was just in the room and couldn't leave. And I really, really apologize for this. I've been a year into this, in many campaigns, waiting for a candidate to show up and being at best impatient and maybe even vaguely annoyed that my time wasn't respected, and I apologize for that. What I'd love to do, Rob, if this works, is open this conversation now, make some comments, and people can ask questions. And I will arrive where you are in about another half an hour. And I'll only have about 15 minutes before I have to head out to Northampton, where there's a gubernatorial debate for all the candidates at Smith College. But at least we'll have that time. So I hope people will be willing to do that and can accept my apology. Do people seem okay with that, Rob?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right, well, thank you. Let me begin with some just introductory comments on my candidacy, where we are, and what I'm hoping for, and then take your questions. Then I'll take more of your questions when I arrive on site with you. So you all know me. I think I'm Don Berwick, and I'm a pediatrician. I also am an executive. I ran an organization that I started and ran for 20 years that began as a little fledgling working on improvement of health and healthcare in communities all over the world, and grew to global size now. So it's now an organization that's about $35 million a year, about 130 employees now, and it's worked in 50 countries and every state of the union. That was my experience. I continued to practice pediatrics for much of that time, but I also was mainly devoting myself to this executive leadership role and acting as a change agent for healthcare around the world. Then I got invited to go to Washington out of the blue. The Obama administration, Senator Tom Daschle at that time was going to be Health and Human Services Secretary, asked me to come to Washington to run Medicare and Medicaid, which is a massive job. It's the largest agency in the federal government by budget. It's bigger than the Pentagon. Its budget is $800 billion, 5,500 employees, and the agency for healthcare reform. The Republicans blocked me. The president could not get me confirmed because we had lost the filibuster-proof majority in the Senate. And I was opposed. Glenn Beck called me the second most dangerous man in America, and the Tea Party and the right really kind of came after me. The president stuck by me. He really wanted me there, and he then chose to use a constitutional power called recess appointment that allowed him to put me in the job with full powers for 17 months to the time limit provisions. I went to Washington and I ran Medicare and Medicaid for a year and a half, and I also got to the early stages, the first stages of implementation of the Affordable Care Act, which was an immense privilege. I come from a small town background. In that town, you just plain help each other. If someone's in trouble, you help each other, and that's the way I was raised. That was the way I practiced medicine. I dealt with a safety net population, kids in trouble, and wanted to reach out, help to them. I fought for them every day. And in Medicare and Medicaid, I got to do the same. I got to fight for Medicaid, for the access of disadvantaged people and people with disabilities and elders and kids for care. I got to extend the quality of the Medicare system, adding prevention benefits, covered kids under the parents' policies, in new insurance regulations. We fought the governor of Indiana, Mitch Daniels, when he tried to shut down Planned Parenthood. So it was every day for me was fighting for the moral test. The moral test is the line from Heward Humphrey who said the moral test of government is how it treats people in the dawn of life, children, how it treats people in the twilight of life, the aged, and how it treats people in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and the disabled. And that's been my journey. But I had to leave. I left also very frustrated and somewhat angry about the scene in Washington, which seems terribly stuck. It's in gridlock. The public is very skeptical about the ability of government to solve problems now. And that moral test, the ability to use government to help each other, is at a support systems, attacks on unions, attacks on workers and their rights, attacks on what I think are fundamental values: social justice and equality, compassion. There are people willing to leave kids hungry, and people without jobs, without unemployment benefits, and people with jobs with wages that are not sufficient to allow them to raise their families. And we need to stop it. And Massachusetts can stop it. We are the first state that has progressive vision and a track record. We made healthcare a human right 8 years ahead of the rest of the country. We're the first state with marriage equality. We have the best energy policy in the nation now. And we can show that the progressive agenda can be successfully executed with courage, without apology, and reassert these values. We have to do it for ourselves because there's so much trouble in the Commonwealth. We have problems. We have a transportation system. It's way out of proper maintenance. We need to reinvest in it, or people can't get to and from work. Communities can't thrive. We have an education system that's not equal. It's good, but it's not equal. My town is Newton, Massachusetts, and 96% of kids graduate from high school, but in Holyoke, that number is 53%. And we need to have an education system that serves everyone. We've underinvested in public higher education. We need to put the public back in public higher education and make sure that we're giving kids the chance to get into the economy using these gems in our communities. We're leaving people out of the picture. We're not treating documented residents with compassion or with a way that will allow them to enter the economy and the driver's license that they need. They need a chance to work for fair wages and not be exploited. And the healthcare fix. I'm the only candidate favoring single-payer healthcare for all. It's a big step towards simplification and cost containment without harming anyone at all. It just makes things better. And I'm the most experienced person by far with respect to real healthcare reform, what it means to actually deliver care better so that people have care where they need it, when they need it, addressing their needs, and at home, and aiming toward wellness and vitality instead of just more and more procedures, which is where we are right now. So we have a lot to do, but we can do it. And I'm sure I know we can, and I think if we do, the country will have an example of success it badly needs. I'll make one other comment, then I'll stop for questions, Rob. One issue is particularly on my mind this week, because last week our campaign focused for the whole week on poverty. Many of my employees and I, our staff and I, and volunteers took the SNAP challenge. We ate, a food stamp's worth of food last week, $31.50 for the whole week. We visited homeless shelters and respite centers for battered women and programs for affordable housing, and re-raising awareness and the compelling feelings I have toward alleviation of poverty as a central agenda in our Commonwealth. It's still with us. I spoke in Burlington, Massachusetts last week, where the poverty rate's 4%. I was 10 to 12 miles from Lawrence, where the poverty rate is 24%. And we can't have that in this Commonwealth. We have people homeless, kids hungry. I have committed myself to eradicating childhood poverty within a decade if I become governor. And we will do the same to hunger and homelessness in this Commonwealth. And I'm feeling super strongly about that right now. But I'm doing the SNAP challenge, I can stop. I did it Saturday, and Sunday normally, and there's a whole bunch of people for whom Sunday does not come, and we need to help them. I think I'm going to stop there, Rob. I'd love you to join me in this progressive work. I feel good about what's happening in our campaign all over the state, and I especially welcome your questions now. I'm happy to try and answer them, and I'll see you in another 20 minutes in person. But Rob, do people want to ask questions this way?
Sure. Is there anyone who has a question right off the bat that they would be interested in asking? Sure. Judy, would you mind grabbing that?
Is what I do?
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Don. This is Judy.
Hi, Judy.
So the question I've heard people ask is, how will you work with the legislature? And I know that you have excellent skills in negotiating and dealing as an executive, but perhaps the legislator may be a different animal, and that's why many people have asked me that question to ask you. Thank you.
Of course, Judy. It is a different animal, but leadership is leadership, and I think of my bias throughout my career has been pretty tactical. When you're going to have a struggle, you find your friends first, and in this legislature, there are friends. There are people who share every iota of the progressive agenda I do. I've been endorsed by Senator Jamie Eldridge, one of the great voices for progressivity in this Commonwealth. The chair of my campaign is Senator Sonia Chang Diaz, the first Latina senator in Massachusetts history, and strong progressive. Denise Provost from Somerville has endorsed me, and there'll be many others who will want to join in this agenda. Once you find your friends, you build ring by ring outward, and that's what I would do. I've done that as a change agent. I would do it in the legislature. I will go to values as a fundamental commitment, and I will fight people that do not share these values. I'm not averse to a struggle, but you recruit your friends and you fight hard. Now, the economics of this are also, though, favorable. So, for example, I feel we need dramatic reform in our correction system right now. We have 24,000 people in prison in this Commonwealth at $42,000 a year each. Half of them don't belong in prison. They would never have gone to prison if we had proper mental health treatment, if we had alternatives to prison in programs that actually support people to get back into the mainstream. 85% of the people in the County House of Corrections in Suffolk County, 85% have substance abuse problems of some kind. We need to be treating them differently. Now, I could argue that as progressive, it's the right thing to do if you want to reduce human suffering. But I would also argue it economically, because what are we doing? Spending $42,000 a year to lock someone up and not help them, as opposed to what, $10,000 a year to help them? I visited with a homeless man last week as we were working addressing poverty in Main Street. Mr. Gibbs lives with his 4 children and his partner in one motel room, and we're paying for it at $4,000 a month, because we cannot come up with a housing voucher for him for $1,200 a month, so he can find housing in the housing market. He cannot afford to have housing without that. He has a job, but he has to spend 100% of his income on having an apartment in the area he's in for him and his kids and his partner. Well, that's not right, and I'll make that argument on moral grounds, and I'll also make it on economic grounds. It's not smart, and that's the fight I'll have. I think this legislature is winnable, and remember, this is a grassroots campaign, and the legislators will respond to the grassroots, and I don't intend to squander the grassroots support for a progressive agenda. If I become governor, it'll stay in place, and we're going to continue this conversation.
Rob?
Great, thanks, Don. Drew, do you have a question? Druba has a question.
Hi, Drew. How are you?
Good, how are you? Waiting for you here. So, this is something related to someone who belongs to your profession. It is Dr. Vivek Murthy. He has been nominated as the Surgeon General by President Obama. Now, the NRA is spending millions and millions to block his appointment as the Surgeon General, because he said that gun violence is a public health issue. So any comments on that?
Yeah, we have to stop the influence of big money like this in controlling the public discourse and the results the public has. The public would be beautifully served by having Vivek Murthy as Surgeon General. I know him well. He's a wonderful man, very experienced, and would help us move toward better health in America. And yet we have a small number of people with a lot of money trying to put a stop to this. I hope the president stands up for him. But either way, this is part of the overall importance of the progressive agenda being successfully pursued. The Supreme Court decision a couple of days ago is another step toward disaster, basically permitting the wealthiest segments of society, in that case, to be controlling the public agenda and discourse. It's not good for us, so we have to fight for this. We have to fight for that at the federal level by seeking a constitutional amendment that will reverse Citizens United, and we need to make sure that nothing about this infects the Massachusetts team. We need to have voting rights in the state, make it easier for people to participate in the public agenda, and make sure that democracy is real here.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, this is Jeff. and
Hi, Jeff.
I live in Framingham. And one of the issues, although we've moved ahead with making healthcare more accessible to more people, we still haven't arrived at what the rest of the civilized world has in terms of a national healthcare system. But one of the things that's lagged behind even more is dental care, and that is practically inaccessible by Medicare or Medicaid for
Right.
most people. And there is only cleaning that's able to be provided to people. Is there anything that you can do or say about making dental care more accessible to people, and why has that been the one sector that's lagged behind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, I know what you're talking about. You know, as a pediatrician, I know that a kid with poor dental care, poor dental health, has the general health is seriously affected. This affects learning, it affects growth, development. For an elder, I need to tell you how important proper dental care is. Yeah, this is not alone. I mean, dental care, along with really mental health care, are two examples where by building a technocratic healthcare system that's focused on procedures, we haven't really gotten back to the wholeness of the person and wellness overall as the agenda. I believe a single-payer healthcare system would help us do that. We would have money then kind of in our hands that we could then spend according to our needs, which would certainly include dental care. I fought for dental health benefits and Medicaid when I was there. I learned even more than I already knew about the importance of this, and I think you're absolutely right. We have to remember health is about the whole person, not just getting a visit done or an operation done or a test done. And that's what I've been working on for 30 years, and that's why I'd love to do that and make this an example of healthcare correctly redesigned.
Thanks, Don. Does anyone else have a question? Oh, sure.
Hi, Don. This is Don from Sudbury.
Hi, Don.
I know that you're very much in favor of progressive income tax. My question is, how will you go about achieving that in Massachusetts? What are the steps, and what's likely to be a schedule, and so on?
Well, two ways to do that. I'm for fair taxation. Fair taxation means for me that we have needs for investment in the Commonwealth, correct the problems we talked about, and I believe the wealthy among us need to ante up more. They need to pay higher rates, and people at the lower end of the income spectrum need to pay lower rates. They're being too burdened right now. Now, as you know, under state constitution, we cannot have a progressive income tax. That needs to be reversed, and I will fight with public support, I hope, growing public support for a constitutional amendment in the state. That battle's been lost a couple times, but it's a new day, it's a new time, and the sensibilities around fairness, I think, are far stronger than they've ever been. Meanwhile, if you go to the Mass Budget Policy Center and study tax policy, there are ways to use our current tax code to move a bit more toward progressivity. For example, we have a ton of loopholes and exemptions in our tax code. They cost the Commonwealth billions of dollars. They're called tax expenditures. I think there are hundreds of them, as I remember. I think there are 140 is the number that sticks in my mind. Some of those we need. Some add jobs. Some support the safety net. But I propose to reset the exemptions and loopholes to zero, and then only add back the ones that support jobs and the safety net. And I think we'll find that itself is a progressive move. That will mean that the objectives we would have if we were to have a graduated income tax would be met even within the current tax code. So there's some flexibility there, but we need to have both. We need to struggle for both.
Awesome. Does anyone else have a question? Yeah, please.
Hi, Dawn. I'm Judy Grove, a town meeting member in Framingham.
Sorry, could you start again, please? There was some noise there.
Judy Grove, a town meeting member in
Oh, hi, Judy. Yes. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm particularly concerned about what's going on with the Koch brothers. And you know, we live in Massachusetts, and so we don't have the full brunt of that. But this is really a national problem. It particularly bothers me that they have such an effect in states that are being most hurt by them. They're keeping people from getting health insurance in states where they need it. How is your role, would your role be as governor of Massachusetts in affecting what's happening on the national scene that way?
Well, I think as governor, I would like to participate with voice on the national scene about these issues of social justice and equality that you're talking about. One of them would be to do everything I possibly could as a governor to move other states and other governors toward a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. I mean, to make it possible for Citizens United to be reversed. That's crucial, and I think more crucial with the new Supreme Court decision. I think also there is a room here for Massachusetts to be the kind of beacon that I want it to be. I think success here will breed success elsewhere. If we show that single-payer healthcare in this state actually leads to a better healthcare system, more responsive and less wasteful, then that'll be a template for others, just like they copied Romneycare to try to mold, to solve Obamacare. If we show that the safety net can be protected and it is not too costly, in fact, it's too costly not to protect the safety net, then others can copy it. So there's a relationship between a successful Massachusetts and the ability to override the nonsense that's pervaded by the Koch brothers and the Tea Party. They're selling myths, and the myths are wrong, and we need examples to show that they're wrong.
I have a follow-up question. This is Judy Grove again. I just recently saw that we've always had the reputation as being Taxachusetts, and that's not true. We're pretty much in the middle. Because I have a feeling that people don't want to hear from Massachusetts. That's their attitude toward us. So
People around the country.
Right. Yeah. And so I wonder how you would counter that if we're going to be an example, it isn't just because we have wealthier people here. That it's because we're doing things in a better way.
Yeah, what a great question. My answer is, look, let's get to success. Success speaks for itself, and if we have the kind of just and equitable society, communities and Massachusetts that I think we can have, if our school system becomes the rival of the world, if our healthcare system works far better at lower cost than anyone else's, if our correction system starts to really have a much more complete set of tools for helping people re-enter society, if women in our state start to be paid the same as men instead of 77% of men, and that works, if the minimum wage here is raised and it shows increased vitality for businesses, large and small, instead of decreased, if this works, it'll speak for itself. And I'd be happy to carry that banner back to the national scene, say, you cannot say it cannot happen. That's been my work. My work for 3 decades has been trying to get very large-scale changes to happen in health and healthcare, and that's always been my plan. You find someone that's doing something really well, and then you show it, and the facts start to wake people up, and I think the facts will wake people up nationally. This is important. Let me say, it's important for Massachusetts, even if the country doesn't listen, because I've met homeless people now. I've met some of them were my patients, and we need to stop it. But I think success will breed success.
I have one follow-up question.
Sure.
Rob?
Yeah, sorry, Don, can you hear me okay?
Just so everybody know, we are approximately 10 minutes from where you are right now. We're almost there.
Okay. Cheers.
So Don, this is Dhruva again. So my question is, that's regarding the name recognition. So
I'm sorry?
The,
Can we say that again?
the name recognition.
Name recognition for me?
Yeah. So there's some questions around, like you have less name recognition compared to Steve Grossman or Martha Coakley, but we also know that Deval Patrick had almost zero name recognition compared to you, but he did win and become the governor. So how do you address this name recognition in terms of maybe grassroots volunteering, or what's your plan? And
Well, thank you, Drew. That's what a campaign is about. I mean, yes, but first of all, this Commonwealth has welcomed people with my profile into the governor's office through the years. People that have come in from outside. I know you came to get to know me, not necessarily to support me, but if you do support me, then contributions do matter. One has to raise money in order to run for office. Someday we'll have public financing, and I think that'll be a far better thing. But right now, as you probably know, in Massachusetts, there's a limit. Individuals can only give up to $500 and couples $1,000. And I've got to raise several $1 million to answer Drupa's question and use radio and TV. So those of you in the room who are interested in supporting me, it's not irrelevant as to whether you choose to donate and encourage your friends to do that. But right now, the campaign's on a very good arc. We are ahead of schedule for a lot of the benchmarks we set. And I think the name recognition is going to come along just as it did for Duval and for Elizabeth and for others.
Thanks, Don.
Rob, since we're almost there, may I make a suggestion? Why don't I drop off the phone now, give people a chance to stretch and stretch their legs, and we'll be there in about 5 or 8 minutes, I think. And I'll welcome a chance to shake hands. I'll only be there about 15 minutes, but enough to see your faces as well as hear your voices.
All right. Sure. Thanks, Don.
Good.
We'll see you
We'll
soon.
see you very shortly.
Awesome.
Nice to see you. Thanks. What would you like to read?
Why don't we come in the living room?
It's fine.
No, I think you want to be here or here because the TV camera is there.
Oh, well, as you wish, whatever.
I guess
You want it?
everybody can.
Okay, why don't you come in this room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. You did, and are you a dentist, you said?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, and it's been excluded from proper coverage.
It's called San Francisco Health Outreach Team. During the 80s, we were providing community health care to people who were way below the
Did you know Peter Lee? I work with now, he runs the Connecticut Exchange.
I also send you a paper about the issues on marijuana law.
Yeah, I have that, absolutely.
So,
Thank you all. You're so generous and patient with me. I apologize. It's very embarrassing to be late. That's what it's like on the campaign trail. We're just, things get stacked up. And as I mentioned, there was a meeting in Newburyport that went way over time, and I wasn't in a position when I could leave. Unfortunately, now there's one at Smith College that I'm headed for, but let's give you as much time as I can. And thanks. Did the phone work? Were you able to?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So I laid out my agenda. I'm the most progressive candidate in this field. I believe very deeply that the fundamental values that I want my community to embrace, social justice, equality, compassion, those are the words that keep coming to me, are at risk in the country. You're seeing us back away from a commitment to making sure that people can participate in the economy and that we don't leave people out because of the unfortunate circumstances they're in. And eventually that's about all of us as well. And I saw in Washington the country's stepping away from it. As the safety net gets threatened, as working class people have less and less chance to actually participate in the economy, and basically as the divide in wealth in this country gets worse and worse and worse, and it tears apart the fabric that I think really unites us. So I believe the progressive agenda says that we need to help each other. The government is a vehicle we have for doing that, and that it's not naive and it's not uneconomic. It's right to be able to identify when someone needs help. And that's all of us in some way or another. It doesn't help you not to be able to get health care because you have a pre-existing condition. That's why we have the Affordable Care Act. It's justice. It's an idea of equality and access in America. Yeah.
I think when you talk about Massachusetts, with the large Catholic population we have in the state, and with what Pope Francis is doing to talk about the poor,
Yeah.
that this is really very topical. Yesterday, my grandson in Newton had his first communion preparation, and one of the things that he said to the children was, he talked about the poor. I think that people are starting finally to say, we're very privileged, we've had so much, we have to start paying attention to a core value again.
It's so lovely for you to say it. I believe that. I really do. First of all, as you've heard others say, President Obama says, you know, there's a lot of people one paycheck away from me. And there's a lot of people one paycheck away from just getting out of poverty. That's right. And as I go around the state, I certainly meet people who are very poor right now. They can't make ends meet. Did I mention? I think the guy I met last week, Mr. Gibbs. You know, the 4 kids living in a one room in a motel. You know, in our state at this time, because we've cut the state housing voucher program way down. It used to be $130 million. It's $57.7 million now. He can't. He needs help. And I think the resonance you're talking about is there. I can feel it in communities. People know we really are in this together.
Now that issue of the homeless, at town meeting in November, we had a special article. They asked us to vote. We had a $405,000 extra money from the state. And Herb Chasen put in an amendment. And we asked for funds to help the people in the shelter in Framingham. The kids are being bused into Boston for school. And our town voted it down. It was so depressing.
Mobilization is real. I'm going to get elected as a grassroots candidate. That's you. That means you showing up and helping me. There's no other way I can do this. But it's the same for your town. You need to be mobilized in service of a moral agenda here, a smart one. And I think it's crucial. How we can be cutting out support for homelessness right now. We have 4,000 homeless families in the Commonwealth, 3,000 hungry kids tonight. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I tell you, nor does it make economic sense. But I looked that guy in the eye, Mr. Gibbs, and he's trying. He has not only is he at work, he's a supervisor in a warehouse, but he can't make ends meet. He can't do it. Not without help. And people we need to remind ourselves about this. And the other thing is, maybe one of the reasons it gets voted down is there's been a sales job going on in the country that this is win-lose, you know, that we have to use competitive markets and Darwinism or something, and the survival of the fittest, and if you're poor, you made yourself poor, get yourself out of poverty. It's this idea that if you help someone, you lose. No, if you help someone, you win. And that has got to be made clear.
One reason it got voted down is we didn't have the representation we needed, and that's one of the things we're doing on the south side. We have a number of brand new town meeting members from this precinct who are ready to go because the people.
Yes. We used to work together, you know.
Oh, she used to work with
And
you?
you.
Oh, okay.
A lot of these people live on the south side of Framingham, and when I went around with petitions and I said we need a better park, they said nobody listens to us. What's the point? Because they haven't got it. But now we're seeing a change. People are saying yes, we have a voice. At that meeting, if we had 5 people who had voted opposite, we would have passed it. That's all we needed.
That's so good.
And we had only 50% of our people there. They didn't even show up for the meetings, and we're changing that. That's one.
So, Judy, you're not, may I correct you, you're not seeing a change, you're making a change.
We're making it.
And you're really in charge of it. You know, if we really get this right, the public will support this. I would support a progressive agenda, a bold progressive agenda, not one that's apologetic, not like we sort of have to do it. It's like it's on our watch, you know. And I think that's, congratulations. Don't give up that fight. I think housing's a very interesting issue to have that struggle about, because we're not in a good place right now. There are people who just don't have access to housing, and that's not just low-income people. That's middle-class people, because we haven't put money into the development we need to actually make housing affordable. We know how to do that. It can be done, but it takes leadership. But another thing I can say is I'm a progressive, and I make no apology for that. But I do not see a conflict between the interests of responsible business, smart, responsible business, and the progressive agenda. Because we can go to developers and make it attractive for them to be developing the kind of affordable, sustainable housing that we need. We have to overcome this barrier. But we've been sold a bill of goods on win-lose policy. It's not win-lose. It's win-win. We need to say that. Was one of you had a question? Yes.
Oh, I was just going to say that it was either on the internet or TV that the middle class has fallen 20% from what it was a couple of years ago. So what we call the middle class, the population of middle class has gone down 20%. And some of it is is, I think, not meant to be, but I think people do have busy lives and some, that's it, they're just trying to struggle to keep going each week. But there is an apathy out there, and I could see it just trying to get signatures that,
Apathy. Let's stop it. You know, let's get control back for the people. I think the middle class idea we have to be careful about. Here's what's going on. So you look at the past 30 years, the income of the top 1% in our country has gone up 300%, 275% in real terms. So big raise. The income of the median in our country has gone up maybe 18%. And at the low end, it hasn't gone up at all. I've been meeting with labor unions a lot, and I have a lot of respect for them. These are people really fighting for the rights of people who don't otherwise have voice, and who otherwise would feel helpless. The apathy comes from helplessness. But so I've been meeting with them building trades. So I look at like the income of carpenters or painters or sheet metal workers, and what you see is there's no increase. That over a decade, they're not taking home more money, not to send their kids to school or go to a movie or dinner or enjoy their lives. No, they're taking home, in many cases, less. That money it's gone. It's inequity. Part of that, by the way, is healthcare, because healthcare costs, I think you know, have soared in this Commonwealth. They're up 59% in a decade, and everything else is down. Parks and Recreation is down 25%. Local aid is down 40%, I think. Higher education is down 30%. We're backing away from the progressive agenda. Part of the reason is healthcare is just eating it all up. And I know, for 30 years I've worked on making healthcare better. You know that. And I know you can have better care at lower cost if you do care right, which is focusing on people and human beings and their capacities and home and prevention and dental care. Get the mix right, the costs fall, and then you have resources to put into other things. It's going to take leadership. I think we better have a governor in this Commonwealth that understands the vision of the future of healthcare, what it should look like. And that includes Medicare for all, single payer. If we go to a simplified payment system, two good things happen. First thing happens is the waste goes down, because you're not pushing as much papers and doing as much coding, and the doctors and nurses have more time for patients. And the second good thing that happens is you have voice, because that single payer, if it's Medicare or Medicaid, we can fight. I fought in Medicare every day. I went to fight for 50 million people on Medicaid, 47 million people on Medicare. I had their backs. That was my job. So a single payer at the state level could do that if we set it up right. It was transparent and accountable and responsible. They can have these battles and win them. So I think that's part of the answer too.
Yes, we know that the unemployment rate has gone down in Massachusetts. I think it's like 6.8%, 2013 figures. But among people of color, it has not. How do you propose to get people of color, and particularly back to work?
Your facts are exactly right. The data are shocking in terms of unemployment rates, and right now Hispanic unemployment is extremely high in the state. I don't remember the number. It's in the 30% range, I think, overall. Or maybe that's the poverty rate. But either way, there are ethnic groups being left behind, and that's not fair. It's not these principles of justice and equality. That doesn't apply. So we need to grow the economy. I think the progressive agenda can do that. If we invest in innovation, small amounts of innovation capital put in the hands of entrepreneurs, including immigrant entrepreneurs, can yield tremendous benefits. I was in the Greentown Labs a couple days ago. This is the innovation incubator on clean technologies in Somerville. It cost us some money. The public, put about $600,000 into getting everything set up. Somerville and state money. $42 million of private capital have now been invested in the 40 companies that have been innovated there. So this is smart, and it's clean. Happens to be clean technology.
say the name of it again?
It's called Greentown. Greentown Labs. You should get. Oh, it's amazing. It's a private thing, but we helped the state help get them into a facility. The town of Somerville supported it. Now, if you walk in there, it's like you have desk after desk of these young people, many people of color, I must say. I saw there working on an idea they've got about a clean technology. One was what was one? There was a solar-operated cell phone charger station. You know, another was a bike helmet dispenser. You know, you rent the bike, but you can't rent a bike helmet. Now you can. They're inventing a little dispenser. You rent your bike helmet, turn it back. It's amazing to see what can happen. Building strong communities with better housing, good public transportation access, good schools, that grows the economy. Investing in I would say responsible business regulation, where we're not hassling businesses, we're just holding their feet to the fire, but only on what really counts, reducing healthcare costs. And better schools that align with the needs in the community. That, you know, there are all sorts of wonderful things we could do with relationships between schools and public need. I was at Worcester Polytechnic Institute yesterday in Worcester. That's a higher education facility. It's private, but my goodness, they have all sorts of arrangements now with businesses where the kids there, they basically have a job before they're even graduated, because the businesses and the school are working so well together. Most important to me, by the way, though, are the workers. This should be a great place to work. And so I'm totally for the elevated minimum wage. I think the House did not do enough yesterday. We went to $10.50, but not indexed to inflation. That's wrong. We need good sick time benefits, unemployment coverage. Women should get paid the same as men. Right now it's 77% of men. And we need to make this a compassionate place to be a worker. And for undocumented, I'll just say, they are among us, they're us, and they need to have access to higher education, they need driver's license, they need to be an invitation to get into the economy. Not one answer, but there's a whole, it's an agenda we've just got to adopt. In my administration, by the way, I will assure you that the demographic, racial, ethnic profile of the people who are in my administration will be the same as Massachusetts, and the voices of the people who are getting left out will not be left out in leadership under my watch.
I know Don has to run.
I'd rather be here.
Okay, so before you go, I wanted to specifically meet Vera.
Hi, Vera, how are you?
She's the host.
Oh, good to see you.
Yeah, she's the host. Where's your daughter?
Yeah.
Hey, come here. She's Vera's daughter.
What's your name?
Isabella.
Isabella. Nice to meet you. Are you a student?
Too. Yes, I go to Ashland High School.
At what grade?
I'm a sophomore.
So what do you think what's happening in the school in terms of testing and the MCAS stuff? And
I
all
think
that?
everything is great right now.
Like
The
it.
teachers are very good.
That's good to hear. My daughter's a teacher, so I'll pass the word along to her.
Oh, good.
Well, thank you.
And today she has been collecting names for volunteers
Wow, thank you so much.
who would volunteer for you.
I appreciate it. Did you have a question that I cut off before?
Sorry for
Okay,
that.
the last one, and then I have to run, yeah.
I'm not sure why, but there are a number of Democrats who are not progressives. And I guess my basic question is, they are sort of initially more likely to vote for one of the other four candidates. How do you get them to vote for you?
Well, you can. I mean, no, I'm serious. Grassroots means grassroots. It means you'll be out there making the case over and over again. You and I are from the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party,
Right.
and we need to actually make sure that we speak up for you. The same logic will apply, and we need them, and I need you. So join me. You know, if you care about this bold, progressive agenda for the state, please help me, and we can win. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Don.
Should I ask that question? How many signatures do you need now?
We're doing just fine.
200.
So-
Thanks, yeah. We want to get so many that it's big.
I'd be more than happy
surprising.
to talk a little bit about the field stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Bob can
yeah,
tell
no,
us.
please
Thank you
feel
very
free.
much. Okay, I have to run. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
That would work.
Good job.
Oh, no, thank you so much for coming. Sheets.
Yes.